So about 2 years ago, I had an opportunity to meet Nate Offerman. And Nate is from Omaha, Nebraska, and what's the other town you're from?
Council Bluffs, Iowa.
Council Bluff, Iowa. They're right next to each other, right? Brother and sister on the other side of the river.
Yeah.
A lot of us are like from the other side of the tracks, right? You're from the other side of the river. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
Okay. So about 2 years ago, I got an opportunity to meet Nate, and we were at a group, and you came up to me after the meeting, and you asked me a couple of questions. We exchanged phone numbers, and then I didn't hear from you for a while. And then you were back in my life, and during that time that we were apart, you had an opportunity to read the book that I wrote.
Yes.
Mentor the Kid and the CEO. You got it with you?
Yeah.
Okay. And so this is the book that you read during that time.
Yeah.
So what happened when you read the book? Can you tell me about?
Okay, so in the book Mentor the Kid and the CEO, I directly related to the main character. He was in a situation like I was in, and you know, I related to him, and I knew that it was based on a true story. So from there, the first thing it did for me is it opened my mindset. You know, like it opened my mindset that I could have a different way of life. And then from there, you know, it restored that hope, like that spark of hope was back inside of me. And even though I wasn't in the best situations, you know, I was sitting in county jail.
You were sitting in county jail,
yeah.
Okay, when you read the book.
Yep. So, and at the time, you know, I didn't know that, I had very little knowledge of you. And then I was like, oh, I wrote this book. So I read the book, and as I'm reading the book, it sparked that hope. And from there, I opened my mindset, you know, just changed my mindset that I could have a different way of life. And it all started with accountability. So first of all, I had to just take accountability. Look, I'm here because of me. And I cannot place the blame on anybody else. Like, this is me, this is mine. And if I do anything else from here, it's all me anyways, no matter what it is, whether I go back to the same lifestyle or I change lifestyle.
So in the beginning of the book, it sounds like right there from the very beginning of the book, you and the kid had similarities, because the kid was saying it wasn't his fault, it wasn't his responsibility, and I guess when you first went into jail, you weren't accountable for yourself and you weren't being responsible either, is that right? Yeah, no, I was not at all. So that was a common factor in my adult life, that I did not take accountability. It was always because they were picking on me. You know, the cops were picking on me, society didn't want me to succeed. Like, I blamed everything external, everyone external, as opposed to taking ownership over it. Okay, so let's get this out of the way. Let's get it right here, because I know about this and our audience probably doesn't. How many times have you been arrested and put in jail? So I've been arrested at least 74 times, at least. And when I say at least, I know for a fact that I was arrested 54 times in one county alone. And then I've been arrested in other counties. I know about 20 times in one county, and that's where the number 74 comes from. And so you got a copy of the book, Mentor the Kid and the CEO, and you were in what jail? Okay, so I was in Oklahoma County Jail when I got the copy of the book, Mentor the Kid and the CEO. And there's not much to do in there. And I started reading the book, and I read it cover to cover in one setting, and it took me about 2.5 to 3 hours to read it. So a little bit about your history, because I mean 74 times in being arrested yeah. 74 times. Now, have you been arrested in the last 2 years? I have not been arrested in the last 2 years. Okay. What would make a person that had been arrested 74 times change from getting arrested, I mean 74 times over a period of what, 20 plus years, right? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So what happened that you haven't got arrested in the last 24 months? What have you done differently? So at first, I mean, why would you want to quit breaking the law? Because it wasn't fun. Something that my stepmom always used to ask me is like, if it isn't fun, why are you still doing it? And the fact was that I didn't see a way out. So when I read the book, I seen a way out, and I was able to relate to the character in the story. And then I took the action, and then when I came back around you, I just smashed, like all my ideas were smashed, because I had a few more ideas and they didn't quite pan out. And then once I come back around you, I just eliminated them all and did whatever was suggested, and started taking the action in the right direction. And trusted when you told me that my life could be different. I trusted that. So in the beginning, after you got out of jail and things were, you didn't have any money.
Yeah.
You didn't have a place to stay.
Did not.
Have you been homeless before?
Yeah. So I've been, as I've heard to, high bottom homeless where I've couch surfed. And then I've also been, one time or a couple times I was out on the street, with nowhere to go or weapons and fighting and drugs. Yeah, there's a lot of drama and excitement and drinking. Yeah.
Why would you want to change? Why would you want to get out of that? Well, I mean, that definitely is not a boring way to live, is it?
No, and for me, what it was a yuck from the inside out. So, and one of those times when I was homeless, and I just left living. It was a ministry where you stayed there and you worked, and then they provided housing. And I left there. And I wanted to get drunk, so I got drunk. And then I was out on the street, had lost the guy that I left with, and the yuck had already been set in before when I was all by myself, and then it came again, and the thoughts of suicide started coming a lot. And then I was like, oh, I'm just about out of ideas.
So when you were out on the streets, did you think about suicide very often?
Occasionally, suicide, it comes and goes even today. It's not as much as it was. And sometimes, so on the street, my thoughts are consumed by drinking and drugging. Thoughts of suicide aren't there because I'm thinking about drinking and drugging. And then once I get to the end of that cycle or whatever it is, then the thoughts of suicide. Or when I don't want to use or drink and I'm like pulled with every part of my being to do so, then the thoughts of suicide also come.
So do you have a date of sobriety, a sobriety date?
Yeah, my sobriety date's February 2nd of 2018.
February the 2nd of 2018?
Yes.
So you haven't had a drink or used any drugs in almost 2 years?
That's correct.
Wow. Yeah. Congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you.
So during this time, when you got out of county jail, and you ended up coming back into my life, and I was able to offer you a job at Pacebutler Corporation. And you started in what capacity? Do you know the job, remember the job title?
So in the beginning I started shucking the phones.
What do you mean shucking the phones?
So you separate the back. We separate the battery from the phone and take the back off, the older flip phone style. Put the battery one place, put the cell phone another place, throw the back away. And that's what I did for
week. And those are phones that are being recycled?
Yeah, so those phones are being recycled.
So the batteries are recycled
Recycle
properly.
the batteries, recycle the phone, and then the plastic from, pop the back off.
So from being a shucker, you became a what?
Cell phone buyer.
Okay.
So I started buying cell phones. I make phone calls. So I'd make phone calls to businesses, municipalities, and hospitals.
What kind of cell phone buyer were you?
I was not a good cell phone buyer. Most companies would have fired me, and I would have been back to looking for another job.
So instead of firing you, you moved into another position. What did you do then?
So I went downstairs and I tested cell phones.
Okay.
So to testing cell phones, you test the functionality, check the camera, check the reception, check the speaker, check all that stuff, and then run the IMEI if it's required, if it's a higher model phone. And the IMEI is the number that tracks phone, whether it's lost or stolen, active, unactive.
So you started testing cell phones, going through the process. What kind of cell phone tester were you?
I was great. I was great at testing cell phones.
How come you're not testing phones now?
Because I had an opportunity to move into the World Book Bank and sell the book, Mentor the Kid and the CEO, part of the, it was like a foundation in my new way of life, so it was an opportunity that I wanted to take.
Okay, so when you were a cell phone tester, we also have another organization called the World Book Bank. It donates books to people that are in jails and prisons and homeless shelters, totally free. And I saw potential. One, not only did you read the book Mentor the Kid and the CEO, but you've taken it, you've really made it come alive. We've had an opportunity to run across the United States together in the last 24 months.
Yeah.
So do you still run today?
Yeah. Yep.
How many days a week do you run now?
4 days.
4 days?
Yep, 4 days a week. 4 days a week, so I run 9 miles on Saturday, 4 miles on Sunday, 3 miles after work on Monday, and then about 3 miles on Thursday with Job Corps students.
So where do you run on Thursdays?
Okay, so up in Guthrie, Oklahoma, there's a Job Corps center, and we go up there after, well, we leave work early to go up there and run with the students on Thursdays and do a little mentoring. And it's really cool because I get to hear them bring their book reports. I love hearing their book reports and just seeing them start to develop these routines in their lives. You know, and that routine could be something as simple as coming up and showing up every Thursday to run with us. And it's really cool.
How many of the people that have read the book, what books are they reading? Have they read The Mentor, The Kid and the CEO?
So Mentor, The Kid and the CEO, if they haven't read this book, this is the first book that is suggested to read. And then get a book report on it. And when I say book report, they'll write it up about a page, and then I'll put it in my pocket, and then I'll talk to them about the book and ask them questions about the book to see if they're in fact, if they read the book and what their major takeaways are from the books that they do read.
Before we met, how many nonfiction or personal development books did you read cover to cover?
I cannot name one that I read cover to cover.
And since we've been around each other, how many nonfiction personal development books have you read?
So I've read 22 nonfiction books.
Why do you read so many books now?
Well, I read a lot of books to gain the information, to turn it into practice, to turn it into knowledge, to have a better life.
So one of the things that you've done in the last 2 years is, I understand you got your driver's license back.
Yeah, yeah.
How long had it been since you had a driver's license?
So I haven't had my license for 17 years. And yeah, it took 17 years to attain that.
Did you have to take a driving test?
Yeah, so I had to take a driving test and I got to drive your car actually. It was really cool. I got to take a driving test in a Lexus out in Hinton, Oklahoma. You know, and it was cool. You know, I passed the written part first, and you know, I didn't pass the driving. I did not pass that. Use your turn signals when you're parallel parking. Whether you use those, and make sure both hands are on the steering wheel when in the parking lot as well.
What are some of the things you've done since in the last 24 months? Besides reading how many books? 22. 22 books. Besides getting your driver's license, besides running across the state of Texas, what are some of the other things that you've done?
So those are the big ones. Also getting to see the ocean for the first time. I got to see the Atlantic Ocean when we finished the leg to Jacksonville. That was super cool. Got to swim in the ocean for the first time. First flight. So I took my first plane trip within the last 21 months. And that was the first, and I've taken many since then. I've had the opportunity to speak at a drug court conference in North Dakota. That was really cool. That was a really cool experience.
So on Saturday nights, you take the cheeseburgers to the Saturday night group, is that correct?
That is correct.
And why do you do that? Why do you take the cheeseburgers to the Saturday night group?
Well, when I first come to Oklahoma City, I was homeless, and I started hanging out with some guys and stayed in what they call Sober Living House. And they went to that meeting for the purpose to get the cheeseburgers, because the cheeseburgers are brought in and given to people that can't afford a meal, whether they're homeless or they're living in a sober living and they can't afford it, or they're just getting started on their journey, on their mission, on their work inside themselves of recovery.
Who pays for the cheeseburgers?
I pay for the cheeseburgers.
Out of your own pocket?
Yes.
How does that make you feel?
It makes me feel great to give back, because I think about, and that's why I started, when it was offered to me to take that commitment. That's why I took it, because I remember it's where I met you. It's where my journey really starts, as far as getting sober and giving back. So it's my opportunity to give back to what was freely given to me.
The more I give, the more I live.
Yeah.
That's my philosophy.
Yeah.
Do you see, are you adapting to that? Are you accepting that philosophy?
Yes, I am very accepting of that philosophy.
The more I give, the more I live. That's my philosophy. And I believe that that's what you're doing with your life, is you're giving and you're helping other people and taking massive amounts of action, as Tony Robbins says. And that's another thing that we got to do together.
Yeah.
We got to go to the Tony Robbins in Texas.
Yeah, that was super cool.
Experience that. We've been on several family vacations together. We went to Table Rock for 10 days with 26 other people on that deal. We got to water ski. Have we been snow skiing yet?
Have not.
Why not?
I don't know. I guess because you haven't invited me.
Oh. Did you invite me?
Well, I don't have the means and I've never snow skied. So there goes that.
Never say I can't afford. Always say how can I afford. Figuring out a way to do that is the way to do it. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's been a real pleasure to have you on the show today, and we ask that it's been a real pleasure to sit down and talk with you about your life. I'm really proud of the actions that you've taken to get to where you are today. I'm proud of the fact that you've found this book, Mentor the Kid and the CEO, when you were in jail. You read it, you took that action, and after you got done reading, after you got out of jail, you looked me up, and we've been working together, and we've had some incredible experiences, positive experiences over the last 2 years, and I look forward to a lifelong friendship with you. I'm glad you're my friend.
Thank you, Tom.
You better have got that. If you didn't get that, I'm going to kill you.